Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year, and welcome back to the Live and Learn podcast. Hope you're doing well on this Saturday, January the 3rd, 2026. Yes, 2026 has arrived, if you can believe it. And I haven't done a podcast in over a month. November, December were kind of weird months for me. Starting a new job on Monday. Looking forward to that. Just a new opportunity and just something fresh. Enjoyed the holidays, family, of course. Have still been watching a lot of sports over the last little while. And I'll be getting back into we'll be doing another podcast on Tuesday, reacting to the gold medal game and the end of the NFL regular season. So podcasts will be coming more regularly than they have been. But I wanted to jump in today because over the last little bit, really best on best hockey when it comes to World Juniors, when it comes to the Olympics, has become, the biggest talking point of the sports world. On New Year's Eve, Hockey Canada announced the roster for the Olympic Games in Cortina in about a month. The last NHL game is on February the 5th, and there's no NHL from February the 5th till February the 25th. So a good stretch. A short month will be even quicker because you have the Olympics, the 2 weeks in there. And then on Friday, so yesterday, the 2nd, the United States announced their Olympic roster. Sweden announced their Olympic roster as well. So teams are starting to come together. Teams are starting to look a certain way. And I wanted to touch on the roster, because it's something that everybody and their dog has put together a roster for the Olympics. What do you think about this player? What do you think about this player? How would this mesh? How are they going to pick a team? Are they going to go skill? Are they going to go based on, this player would fit in this position? Swiss Army knives, all those different things. And ultimately, it was up to Doug Armstrong and John Cooper to put together a team that they believe that can win the gold medal in a month. And I'm going to talk USA Today and Canada. And I want to start off by just saying this. Canada won the Four Nations face-off. A tournament that I really had no feel for, that turned out to be awesome. And you look at the roster and you question certain things, but they picked the team and they won. And I think when you look at the team, when you look at everybody doing this, you got to give certain people the benefit of the doubt. And I also believe there's no sanctimony, there's no obvious snub that is so glaring, that is so offensive, that it has to be, a groundswell of just crying or bitching or whatever type of adjective you want to put in. And my reference for that is that in 2014, Chris Kunitz made the Canadian Olympic team. Chris Kunitz made the Olympic team, and this will never be reported on, but if you have half a brain, you'll figure this out, because Sidney Crosby was his line mate, and Sidney Crosby wanted him on the team. Sidney Crosby was the captain in 2014, just like he'll be the captain in 2026. Chris Kunitz was not on the team because of merit. He was not on the team because he was a better player than anybody ahead of him. Chris Kunitz had the backing of Canada's best player. And you know what? That's okay, because Canada won gold easily in Sochi. And They are going to be the odds-on favorite to win the gold medal in Cortina because they have the best team. And if a player wasn't brought, I don't think that's why they're going to lose. But let's dive into it. I just want to start off with that because it's, this player didn't make it, sanctimony. There's more of that with the American team where I just think they just made some stupid decisions. But let's dive in. Team Canada, arguably, you can make a strong argument, has the 3 best players in the tournament. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, and Macklin Celebrini, they've been the 3 best players in the world this season, bar none. Look at points, look at team wins. Colorado, it's January the 3rd. They have 2 regulation losses. Nathan MacKinnon has 34 goals. He is tearing the league a new ass. He's been dominant. Connor McDavid in the month of December had 31 points. Macklin Celebrini has 62 points in 40 games. That is 28 points more than the next closest player on his team, Will Smith. Not to mention, there's Cale Makar on Team Canada, who is the best defenseman in the world and I believe a top 5 player. So maybe they got 4 of the best 5 players in the tournament. Nice to have. But you start off with 97-29 Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini, who could be playing for Canada at the World Juniors, makes the Olympic team at age 19. A phenomenal story, a great player, a cornerstone of the future of the league. He absolutely should have made the team. There was no debate, and I think Doug Armstrong said that. It would be a colossal stupidity to not put him on the team. So I'm glad that at least this, person in charge of Canada wasn't making stupid decisions. But if you look at, I put together lines that I think could go together. So if you look at the top line, you got Macklin Celebrini, Connor McDavid, and Sam Reinhart. It's a pretty damn good line. Sam Reinhart plays for Florida, multiple time Stanley Cup champion, a jack of all trades, a goal scorer, tenacious on the forecheck, a gritty type competitor, and a guy that you just can't leave off the team. And he absolutely can play top 6 minutes on this team, even on Canada. He's that good of a player. MacKinnon. My big question for him is, do they put Crosby on the wing and play Crosby with MacKinnon? I would, but you never know. I didn't, because I don't think they will. So if you look at a line of MacKinnon, Braden Point, and Mark Stone. Mark Stone, Brad Marchand, I think could be interchangeable on that line. I think it would be a lot of fun to see the 3 Nova Scotians play together on the same line. Be a cool story for Atlantic Canada. Would be a cool story for the Olympics. Brad Marchand having an awesome season for the Florida Panthers, despite the fact that they've been injury-riddled from the word go. Then I'd add Sidney Crosby, Brandon Hagel, and Mitch Marner on the 3rd line for Team Canada. You have some speed with Sid. You have Hagel, who I think is like a perfect Sidney Crosby line mate prototype. When you look at Brian Rust, who he typically plays with now, Brandon Hagel's a better Brian Rust. Brandon Hagel's a better Pascal Dupuis, Chris Kunitz. Who I think they gel perfectly together. And really, the big decisions are about 3rd, 4th line, 5th, 7th, 8th defensemen. Because McDavid's going to play a ton. McKinnon's going to play a ton. Crosby will play a good amount. And if Canada wins or loses this tournament, it will not be based on the 6th, 7th, 8th defenseman. And we get caught up on that. Ugh, we love to bitch. And that's one, I don't do New Year's resolutions because I think if you want to make a change, do it. So putting a arbitrary date on it can be kind of stupid. But if you believe in them, good job by you. And let's kill 2026 together, whatever you want to accomplish. But one thing I want to do less in 2026, and I'm going to try, is just bitch less. I bitch about politics. I bitch about sports. Stupid change, offside review. God, I hate offside. That's going to be a hard one for me. I hate that more than most things. Mark Carney, I bitch about him. But I'm going to try to do it less. Because it's negative and it only hurts me. So, fourth line for Team Canada, or the last few players. A guy who wasn't on the Four Nations team, a guy who's had a great season, is a captain of a Canadian franchise, Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. Nick Suzuki has been amazing for Montreal. Quietly goes about his business. He plays a 200-foot game. He's not a selfish player. He's really good in the face-off dot. You look at him and go, he's not going to be physical. Not true. The guy can be. He's got some bite to his game. And I look at him and I just see a really good leader, a dependable forward that could be a fourth-line center, play 8-9 minutes, and be dependable for this team. Marchand in that mix. Was he going to make the team? Was he not going to make the team? Veteran, experience, still playing at the top of his game. Won a Stanley Cup last year. Makes sense to me. And my last forward, my 12th forward, if you will, even though I think this guy can move up and down the lineup, he's a Swiss Army knife of epic proportions. He's got 21 goals on the season already for the Washington Capitals. It's Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson, in my mind, should have made the Four Nations roster. He didn't. Since that time, and I think this is important, Tom Wilson has not been suspended and he has not been fined by the NHL. That doesn't mean he's not playing physical, he's not doing Tom Wilson things, but he hasn't gotten the proverbial slap on the wrist. That's important to a guy like him because you need to be able to trust him to go on the ice, do the right things, and not be stupid. I love Tom Wilson. I think it's a great story. I think he's an ultimate competitor. He's built like a brick shithouse. He can score an end-to-end goal or he can hit you through a boards, and that's what makes him unique. There's nobody on this roster exactly like him. He's somebody that you can unleash. You could put him with a shift with McDavid to try it out, and I think he'd be fine. He could stick on the fourth line, play the penalty kill, be dependable. That would be fine. There's a variety of different ways that they can use him that I believe all will be effective. Having a phenomenal season with Washington, on a good team, competitor, I'm happy for Tom Wilson. Deserved to make the team, did make the team. And then you get the extra forwards. Bo Horvat of the New York Islanders. surprised me. New York's having a very fine season, led by the young defenseman phenom Matthew Schaefer, first overall pick. But Bo Horvat got traded from Vancouver and has been very good ever since. Now, you're in Long Island. It's quiet. They don't get many headlines. He got banged up on Thursday afternoon. But he's top 10 in goals in the NHL. He's been one of the better power play contributors in the league this season. His game's gotten better, while the Vancouver Canucks as a team have cratered. Another guy who's been a leader with the Canadian franchise. We'll talk about snubs, but has his play this year earned him a look? Absolutely. Would I have taken Bo Horvat? Probably not. But again, he's an extra forward. If he gets into the lineup, he's playing 7 to 9 minutes. If 7 to 9 minutes kills your team, you are never going to win. That's just how I look at it. And then the last forward, and I believe the most polarizing for some reason, Anthony Cirelli of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Anthony Cirelli was on the Four Nations roster that won gold. Multiple time Stanley Cup champion, dependable center iceman, good on the draw, penalty kill, all that fun stuff. He is the go-to ingredient for John Cooper in Tampa Bay. He's used a ton. Cooper trusts him. So that's all important details to factor in. People upset. They took Cooper's boy over X player. Let's say Sam Bennett, or over Zach Hyman, or Connor Bedard. And again, John Cooper is the coach. He has a say in who makes the team, just like Doug Armstrong did when he picked certain players that we'll get to on the back end. If Anthony Cirelli can be taken on a team, or John Cooper could snub his player and take somebody else, I don't know, any other player, I wonder who he's going to want to take. His guy or the extra. He's going to want to take his guy, and he did. And I got no problem with it. Zero. Because that's the game. Kunitz came because of Crosby. Steve Yzerman didn't take Marty St. Louis. It killed the relationship, and he left the organization. Now, you could say that was petulance by current Montreal Canadiens head coach Marty St. Louis. Fair argument. You could say he had the right to be angry. Fair argument. But if I'm a coach, Cirelli, in my opinion, is not going to play. He's going to be in the press box eating a poutine. So if I could have him join the team or piss off, leave him home, have him pissed off, and bring somebody else, I think you'd be an idiot if you're a coach and you go the other direction. Just think about it from that lens. And again, I've said this 4 times already, but I feel like I have to. If Anthony Cirelli is the difference from you winning or losing a gold medal, you are fucked from the beginning. Period. Now, Would they have made would I have made changes? Of course, to the forward group. Sam Bennett would have been on my team. But I don't have that connection to Anthony Cirelli. I would have taken Sam Bennett over Bo Horvat. But clearly, they wanted a little more skill if somebody gets hurt. Let's say Braden Point gets injured. Bo Horvat can easily slide into a line, play the wing, and be that skill guy. Sam Bennett is more of a physical, dump and chase, rough rider type player. And it's a different element from what Bo Horvat brings to the table. It's not better. It's not worse. It's different. I would have taken Sam Bennett over Bo Horvat. I would have taken Connor Bedard, Mark Scheifele over Bo Horvat. But clearly, they didn't like these players as much. Doug Armstrong, John Cooper, the others, they have their right to do it. I would have made those changes. But it's their team. They put together a team they believe could win the Four Nations face-off. That team won the Four Nations face-off. It's a damn good forward group. No other country can come close to rivaling it. Canada does not have the best defense in the tournament, and they damn sure do not have the best goalies. But when it comes to scoring goals, there is not another country on planet Earth, in this tournament, in space. If Elon finds little green alien guys, there's nobody that can rival this forward group when it comes to offensive production and scoring goals. Canada has more game breakers, period. So the bit pieces, bitch, complain, whatever. But they can score as good, better than anybody in the tournament. So they have that going for them. But big snubs, Mark Scheifele, who's having an awesome season, and Connor Bedard, Sam Bennett, Zach, and Wyatt Johnston, who I never really thought was considered, but Wyatt Johnston's an awesome player for the Dallas Stars. Okay. Let's move to the defense. The top pair was the top pair at the Four Nations. They were easy locks. The best defenseman on planet Earth, Cale Makar, and his defensive partner in Colorado, Devon Toews. No surprise. No Russians, bring out the asterisks, Casey Ward. No, and here's the reason why. Canada played the Russians in Sochi in the quarterfinal, and they whooped their ass. And if you go look up who would make the Russian roster, they're bringing guys from the KHL. Not that the KHL isn't good. It's okay. But they're bringing KHL guys. Their center ice position for the Russians, old, weak. They got Kucherov, Kaprizov, don't get me wrong. They got some good players, but they can't hang. They'd have to goalie their way to a gold medal because they'd have Vasilevsky and Shesterkin, who are arguably better than anybody, any country could put up. Because the goaltending in this tournament, I don't think is going to be that great. Because there's some countries that are putting out crap. But no, I don't view it as an asterisk without the Russians, because do I think the Russians should be able to play? Absolutely. Just like I think the Russians should be able to play at the World Juniors. Ukraine, Russia, okay. I get it. They're bad. We hate them. Canada, we love the fucking Ukraine. We give them more money than we give to our own citizens. So, but They should be able to play, but they can't. But I don't think the Russians, I'd go as far to say, I don't think the Russians would medal if they were in this tournament. They didn't medal in Sochi on their home soil in 2014, 12 years ago. Their team is not as good as the team they had in Sochi. They got good talents, absolutely, but they do not have the team that Canada, the Americans, even the Swedes will bring to the Olympics. The one wrinkle for Canada on their top defensive pair of Makar and Devon Toews. Devon Toews said yesterday his wife's expecting, like this, their fourth child. And he said he's not leaving until she's had the baby, she's healthy, baby's safe, all that fun stuff. Which I don't blame him. Family first. He's not making a cent to go play for Canada at the Olympics. So he may not be available. In all likelihood, he'll probably go, but I think he made a point to come out and say that because he's a family guy and that comes first. So it's Makar and Toews, unless something happened, maybe Devon Toews will not be in Italy. We'll see. But they were the easy top pair. The next two defensemen were also easy for me. Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets and Shea Theodore of the Vegas Golden Knights. Winnipeg is having a disastrous season, to say the least. They are currently last and in the NHL, pardon me. They can't win. They gave up a big lead to the Leafs the other night. Mark Scheifele's been great. Velarde, Connor, Morrissey, those guys have been good, but they're top heavy. But Morrissey is such a good puck mover. I think he's got a great ability to get pucks through to the net, create scoring opportunities. He's fast. And you pair him with Theodore, who's kind of just this methodical, good offensively, good defensively, smart player, a steady presence for Team Canada, an easy pick. Their top four, quite good. It was the next four that could have went in a number of different ways. And these 5, 6 are who I believe will start the tournament and who will play. Canada went with the veteran. They went with the experience, Drew Doughty of the Los Angeles Kings. Drew Doughty, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Norris Trophy winner. A guy who loves to eat minutes, loves to play hockey, no matter what condition he's in. He played in Vancouver in 2010 as a 19-year-old. Not expected to make the team, not really expected to make the NHL that year. Beginning of the tournament was a healthy scratch. Got into a game, and by the end of it, he was averaging 24 and a half minutes a game because Mike Babcock had to play him because he was so good. He was one of the better players in the tournament in 2014. He was great as well. Drew's the ultimate competitor, has played his entire career with the Los Angeles Kings. And you can't put a price on experience. And clearly, I think if you're looking at this team, that was something that Doug Armstrong and his team valued. Doughty, oldest defenseman. I don't know if Doughty makes this team if Alex Pietrangelo is still playing hockey. Alex Pietrangelo was going to be that guy, that veteran presence on the back end. If you look at Makar's first Olympics, Toews' first Olympics, everybody except Doughty and Crosby, it'll be their first Olympic Games. You bring that experience in, he will be, he said he was fired up to get that call that he was going to go over. to get to play in his third Olympics towards the back end of his career, I'm happy for Thru. And I don't think he's going to kill you, because he's a steady presence. He's a smart hockey player, and he's been there, done that everywhere. And then the sixth defenseman for me, which is interesting. This guy initially did not make the Four Nations roster, but he got a call while on vacation because of an injury that they needed him to fly in. And he ended up playing the rest of the tournament, playing some decent minutes, had a few points. And that's Thomas Harley of the Dallas Stars. A great skater, a good puck mover, a big body. Since the Four Nations really has only gotten better, has made himself a household name on a team with a bunch of really good defensemen. That includes Heiskanen, who will play for Finland at the Olympics. Thomas Harley was left. He was an afterthought, but he's put himself in this position to make the team. Great player, should be on this team. Then you got the 7th, 8th defenseman, Travis Sanheim, who made the Four Nations. Sanheim is Mr. Dependable. You can put him on a third defensive pair. He's going to block shots, get pucks out of the zone, and get off the ice. And there's value to that. His game is quite simple, and simplicity can have a value, because if there is an injury, he's an easy guy to put in, and you know what you're going to get from him. I don't think Travis Sanheim's going to try to become Cale Makar at the Olympics if and when he's put in. It's just go out there, play your game, make good, smart decisions, and don't put us in a situation to hurt ourselves. And I don't believe he will. So they go with a guy they knew, a guy they liked at the Four Nations. And then the final defenseman is Colton Parayko of the St. Louis Blues. Would there have been players I would have taken over Colton Parayko? Yes. But the same thing as Anthony Cirelli. Doug Armstrong is picking the team. Doug Armstrong is the general manager of the St. Louis Blues. You're going to take your guy. And you're stupid if you don't. It's as simple as that. You take your guy because you keep that relationship, keep people happy. You take your guys. Would I have taken Matthew Schaefer over Colton Parayko? I would have, because I want Schaefer, even if he doesn't play, to be on this roster, because he's the future of Canadian defense. He's that good. He's going to be that good for a very long time. And he could have had the Drew Doughty experience on this team, which I think would have been good for him, been good for the country, all of it. But they went in a different direction. You could make a strong argument that Jacob Chychrun, based on the last couple of years, should have made this team. He leads all defensemen in goals this year with 15. But I think you look, Makar, Theodore, Morrissey, Harley, I think they got enough offensive firepower. He's not going to be on the power play, so we don't trust him as much in his own zone. So we're not going to go there. Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. This is an easy one. I don't trust him at all. He's got a great shot. He puts up a lot of points, but I don't want him on my team. No chance. He's a ticking time bomb in the worst ways possible because it's going to blow up in your face. You know it's going to happen at some point. Edmonton not winning Stanley Cups. Getting to the Stanley Cup, Evan Bouchard, huge help. In those big moments, a huge reason why they don't win. So their defense for Canada is good, not great. They have the best defenseman in the tournament, so you love that. It's good, it's not great. Just like their goalies. But you knew that going in. They have the best forwards. You're not going to have the best defense. I think the Americans have the best defense by a wide margin. We'll get to that. But overall, could you swap certain guys as their minor qualms? Sure. But if the qualm is Cirelli making it, or if the qualm is Colton Parayko making it, I truly think you got to look at the bigger picture and go, they were never going to be left off. Ever. Because it's the head coach's guy and it's the GM's guy, the guy picking the team's guy. So that was never going to happen. At least a smart person would, if I was the GM coach, if I have a brain, that's what I'm doing. And finally, the goalies for Team Canada. Jordan Binnington of the St. Louis Blues helped Canada win the Four Nations, was awesome in that tournament. Has not been awesome this year, but the St. Louis Blues have not been awesome in front of him. He's a hothead. He's a lot to deal with, certainly. But he showed up in the big moments, and he was awesome in that final against the Americans. He made some big saves to help Canada win. He's a Stanley Cup champion, and I believe he will be given the net to start the tournament. He might lose the net, but I think he'll be given the net to start the tournament, and we'll see what he can do with it. But Jordan Binnington absolutely was a no-brainer to be put on this team. Logan Thompson, a guy who was left off the Four Nations roster, was having an awesome season in Washington, and he's having another awesome season in Washington. Some of the best numbers in the NHL. I think Logan Thompson will push Binnington for the net because he's been so solid. And he's so dependable. He's so reliable. He's a number one goalie in a sport where you're eliminating number ones because you need a tandem and sports science and all that crap. Logan Thompson's a number one goal, and he wants to play, and he wants to have that opportunity. I think it's Binnington or Thompson. Both will get starts in the round robin. We'll see who plays better. And then goalie 3 for me in the depth chart is another Stanley Cup champion. Oddly enough, a former Washington Capital, Darcy Kemper, who has bounced around, having a good season. But Canada is not rich at the goalie position. Sam Montembeault for the Montreal Canadiens was in the American League last week. So he's not really considered. And there wasn't many options for them to go with. So you decide to go with these 3 guys, 2 guys that have won cups, Logan Thompson, who you could argue has been, including playoffs, regular season, has been the best goalie over the last year and a half. So overall, I think it's a very good team. It's the team that absolutely should be the favorite to win the gold medal in Cortina, barring the ice surface being ready. Incredible talent. As I mentioned, you might have 4 of the 5 best players in the world on the roster with McDavid, McKinnon, Macklin, and McCarr. And Sidney Crosby at his age is having an incredible season. He's no slouch. So this team will be the favorite to win the gold medal. But they will have some competition. I think their biggest competition will come from the Americans. Obviously. Came down to overtime at the Four Nations. I don't know if it'll come down to overtime again. But the U.S. is a very good team. Bill Guerin was the GM, put this team together. Mike Sullivan's the head coach. If I compare down, that's how I'm going to look at this, down the middle. Number 1 center for the Americans, in my opinion, is Jack Eichel. Great player. Versatile for the Vegas Golden Knights. Stanley Cup winner. But Jack Eichel is not better than McKinnon, McDavid, McCarr. I think you can make a strong argument. Celebrini now. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying he's a scrub, but he's not as good as those guys as your number 1 center. Number 2 center, Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Had himself a hat trick the other night. Maybe he's finding his game about a month out from the fort. He's been a average player for about a year and a half. Could be a toe injury, back injury. I don't know what it is. Toronto doesn't tell you what the injuries are. I can only go off on what I see. He's been average. The team's been shit. When he's at his best, he is a lot to deal with. And when he's at his best, I think he's better than Jack Eichel. But he's very inconsistent. And I can't say definitively you know what you're going to get from Austin Matthews. I don't think he's a leader. I think he's going to be the captain of this team. But that, to me, I don't think the Leafs have ever been fired up because Austin Matthews, has them ready to play, so to speak. He might lead the Cabana Club in Arizona. He could maybe lead that. But maybe he'll find his game. He's the most dangerous forward on this team when he's at his best. Will he be at his best? Who knows? He had a good game the other night. 3 center, Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes as your number 3 is very good. Because Jack Hughes, when available, is incredibly dynamic, can make plays happen out of nothing. And he's awesome. So that's a nice thing to have in your arsenal. Will he be healthy come he gets injured a ton? But that's a nice, and then you have Dylan Larkin as my 4th center, who's had a quietly very good season for the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings are first place in the Atlantic Division. You know what he's going to do? He's going to skate 1,000 miles an hour. He's going to be hard in the forecheck. I like Dylan Larkin. Good player, certainly. And as a 4th center, that's a solid center group for the Americans. No doubt about it. Not as good as Canada's, but very good. Playing with Jack Eichel on the top line, I have Matthew Boldy of the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, Bill Guerin taking one of his guys, if you will, but also this is an easy pick. Matthew Boldy has 25 goals on the season. Over the last calendar year, he has the 4th most goals in the NHL. He's got an elite release. And yes, he plays in Minnesota. But I think people people are going to watch Minnesota more and more. Quinn Hughes is there. Kaprizov is there. Matthew Boldy is a goal-scoring machine. Jesper Wallstedt made the Team Sweden for their netminders. He's the future of the NHL. So Minnesota has some good players, and Matthew Boldy is one of them. Jack Eichel is a great disher. I think they'll work well together. And then I have Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor, for whatever cockamamie reason, was a healthy scratch in the gold medal game of the Four Nations. Made no fucking sense. Kyle Connor plays on still, even though Winnipeg is terrible, one of the best lines in hockey with Mark Scheifele and Gabe Vilardi. Kyle Connor should be on this line. Jack Eichel is a lot like Scheifele because Jack Eichel is a smart player, just like Scheifele, a student of the game. Connor fits in perfect with those guys. This line, to me, will crush opposition. It'll be a tough line for Canada to game plan who's going to go up against this line. They can check, they can score, to me, this line is just, it's a load to deal with. It's a difficult chore. This would be my top line for the Americans. My second line, I'd have Matthews paired with the Tkachuk brothers together. Matthew on the roster, even though he has not played this year. He did not play last night in the Winter Classic at Lone Depot Park, but it sounds like he's getting close. He could play by next weekend, make his season debut. So I think you get two battering rams on the same line with Matthews. One to go get the puck, one to give Matthew the puck for him to shoot, and then you have another guy in front of the net whacking away, trying to get some ugly goals. You could break them up. There's options. I think there's guys at the bottom I think could fit well. But both Tkachuk should be there, and I think they could fit well playing together with a guy like Austin Matthews. Playing with Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson. Clayton Keller making the team is interesting. Good player, plays for captain of the Utah Mammoth. First captain in Mammoth history. Having a solid, and he's a solid player. It just surprised me a little bit. Because I look at Clayton Keller and I go, where's he going to fit? And on this third line with Jack's, because unless they put Jack Hughes on the wing, but they don't really have enough centers. They could play Tage at center, and we'll get to one of my Sabres, Tage Lemieux, Tage Thompson, where he's going to go. But having Hughes, Keller might have to play in the top six. And it's because he's small. That's my thing with him. It's just, I don't want a third line full of small guys because I view a third line as, an identity line, as a matchup line that could go up against, the McDavids of the world. And Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson cannot do that definitively. So they may have to do some reworking and put a Tkachuk on the third line just to kind of blend it. Clayton Keller is a fine player. I'm curious to see where he plays, what his fit is, and who the hell knows. Based on where they've played Kyle Connor at the Four Nations, they may not even want to play him to fucking begin with. So who knows? Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson of the red-hot, biggest wagon in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. 10 straight wins. We are Buffalo. Tage is dynamic, just a damn good player, great goal scorer, can score from really anywhere because he's got that release that can just light you up. He's a big guy, so it's nice to have that as well. just a big body, a big physical force that can be a lot to deal with. So, to me, Tage was an easy one for me. Tage making this team. He's too good. Keller, but then the fourth line, JT Miller. JT Miller, captain of the New York Rangers, polarizing player, to say the least. Was much maligned in Vancouver, had that relationship with Elias Pettersson. But he's been fine in New York this year. Again, Mike Sullivan was the coach. Gonna take the captain of your team. Has JT Miller had an awesome last, year since the Four Nations? No. No, but that doesn't mean you don't take him. And I think that's just something to remember. And then you got Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel, a guy that is similar to me. He's so much different than Tom Wilson. But Jake Gensel can go on any line on this team and be completely effective. He's a guy that is quietly a pain in the ass. In Tampa, he's an agitator. And they got a lot of them on that team. But he pisses people off. He played incredibly well with Sidney Crosby. He's fit in incredibly well in Tampa. To me, he works on any team that he is on. Often there's nights when top guys don't have it. Jake Gensel's a guy that will have effort every night. And you notice him. You say, okay, yeah, there's Jake Gensel. In a forecheck, back check, getting pucks to the net. You have a focus on him because he's being productive. So he's an easy one for me, and I think he will be in the top 12 and he will play minutes. And that brings us to the extra forwards, which were quite shocking, quite frankly. Brock Nelson of the Colorado Avalanche and Vincent Trocheck. Trocheck, less surprising to me because Sullivan's the coach. Again, broken record, but sometimes it's just that's my look at it. Trocheck's a fine player, gritty guy, a lot of experience, been in the league for a good minute. Mike Sullivan trusts him, can play, a third line role, be dependable, all that fun stuff. Brock Nelson, having a good season with the Colorado Avalanche, was traded from the Islanders last year at the deadline, had only played for Long Island. In his mid-30s, again, I don't think it's going to matter because Brock Nelson's not playing. If Brock Nelson's playing over Kyle Connor or Jake Gensel, then there's injuries or, the U.S. have really lost the plot. But they built a team that I view as more skill-based and less. I got to be honest, it's hard to find what their team build is. Because they left a lot of skill at home, but then I look around and go, well, Clayton Keller made the team, and I see, JT Miller and Clayton Keller. If I was building the team and I'm going, okay, Mike Sullivan wants his guys. He wants Trocheck and he wants JT Miller. If that is happening, which it is, because I don't think you're going to fight over certain things like that, then I'm taking more skill because Trocheck is not skill-based. Nelson is not skill-based. JT Miller, that's not the nucleus of his game. I am taking Jason Robertson or I'm taking Cole Caulfield, who are both snubbed. Jason Robertson not being on this team to me is pretty crazy because Jason Robertson could play in your top 6. It's one thing to go a bottom line guy. Jason Robertson, who is the less talked about Robertson because Nick plays for Toronto. Well, the actual good player plays in Dallas. I've made that joke before. It's not really a joke. It's the truth. Jason Robertson's 8th in league scoring with 48 points. That's the same amount as Kaprizov and Matthew Boldy, who are on, Boldy, who's on the American team. He's tied for 4th in goal scoring this year with 24, tied with Kaprizov, 1 behind Matthew Boldy. He's an awesome player, and my only thought can be, did you not want to take from a division rival? Did you not want to take from Dallas if you're Bill Guerin? I can't see that being true, but it makes no sense that he's not on the team. Him not being on the team over a Clayton Keller, I don't get it. Him being on the team, I would have taken him over my guy Tage Lemieux, over Tage Thompson, because he's been a better player and he's a more dependable player. There's always going to be the need to take players from your team. Canada did it. The Americans did it. But I'm kind of perplexed by the Americans, what they're going to do with their team and what the outlook is. And it's a puzzling couple of decisions. They need Boldy, Eichel, Kyle Connor, the Kachucks, Austin Matthews to be great. Because I view their bottom 6 forwards as the biggest weakness on their team. Where I think Canada has more depth and they could score some goals and be more productive. I don't view it the same way with the Americans. Bill Guerin said he has no regrets. He's not going to look back. And, well, that's not true because if they don't win, he will have regrets. And with no Sasha Barkov for Finland and with Sweden being, a little bit kind of undermanned, the Americans should at the worst win silver. But I don't know. I don't love their team. I love their defense. We're going to get to it. When it comes to scoring goals, I don't think they're going to be that good at it. They'll be okay. But it's not as dynamic, it's not as dangerous of a team as it could be, is my point. Their defense, first pairing, obvious. They're playing together now in Minnesota. Brock Faber, my boy, and Quinn Hughes. Since they became a pair, they are averaging 27 minutes and 29 seconds per night on the ice together. Brock Faber is Mr. Dependable. I remember watching him at the World Junior Hockey Championships, and I just said that, yeah, that's a guy that's going to be in the NHL for 15 to 20 years and be awesome. He's not going to be a huge points guy, but I think he's going to just be that dependable player that's smart. His career high in goals is 10. He's already got 8 on the season. I love Brock Faber. Played at the Four Nations, played at the Olympics. This will be his second Olympics because played in 2022. So he's awesome. And Quinn Hughes is just, the biggest trade of the last number of years is you get Quinn Hughes onto the Minnesota Wild roster. Since then, they've gone, gangbusters in a loaded division. Quinn Hughes with 4 points last night in a win in Anaheim. So just, he's amazing. Easy first pair they play together. My second pair. Jacob Slavin's been banged up a ton this year. But if he's available, if he's healthy, he's in your top 4 every day of the week. Because he can be paired with anybody and be great. He's going to block shots. He's going to get the puck out of the zone. He's going to put the other defenseman in a good position to take chances. And I think you put Jacob Slavin with Zach Werenski. Zach Werenski's got 14 goals, 1 behind Chychrun for most in the NHL. He averages the most minutes per game in the NHL for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He is just another great player that does so much for his team and to me is somehow still underrated as a player throughout the league. He's a top 5 defenseman in the world right now is Zach Werenski. He's a pending free, he's going to be a free agent soon enough. So they're going to have to make decisions, Columbus, on if they can keep him, if he's going to want to leave because they're just not that competitive. So it makes it tricky. But Werenski is a stud. He's amazing. And then my third pair, Jake Sanderson of the Ottawa Senators. Another just an awesome player who does a lot for that team. A lot of smart decisions. Can score when he needs to, but he's a guy that just plays a ton of minutes, reliable, big defenseman. And I would pair him with Charlie McAvoy of the Boston Bruins. McAvoy is used to being a top dog. He won't have to be with the American team. But a guy that will block shots, that'll play smart. Big fan of McAvoy. Him and Sanderson is your third pair. That's pretty good stuff. And then the extras for Team USA, you got Seth Jones of the Florida Panthers, was not on the Four Nations, and Noah Hannafin of the Vegas Golden Knights. Omissions, you got guys like Lane Hudson of the Montreal Canadiens, Adam Fox which surprised me. Adam Fox, a member of the New York Rangers. Mike Sullivan, coach of the team, did not take Adam Fox. Hannafin, big. Jones, big. McAvoy, big. Sanderson, big. Slavin, pretty big. Quinn Hughes is the smallest defenseman on this team. But again, he's the most skilled. You're going to take him every day of the week. So it's a big defensive group. It's got some skill. They leave Hudson, Fox, 2 smaller guys at home. I would have taken one of them, and you're probably going to take Fox because it's the Rangers guy. If I could, I would have left Hannafin at home and taken one of them. But that was their philosophy. So, I think their defense is elite for the Americans. It's better than Canada's. More high-end. It can match anybody in this tournament. To me, it's the best defensive top 6 in the tournament. And then the goaltenders, you got the reigning two-time Vezina winner, Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger of the Dallas Stars, and Jeremy Swayman of the Boston Bruins. Interesting for sure. A solid, again, their forward group kind of perplexes me, but a solid team that I think will defend well, that will try to win low-scoring games and kind of grind their way to victories. A little over a month, the Olympics start in Italy. Will be a lot of fun. Between now and then, you got the conclusion of the World Juniors. You'll have the Super Bowl in the middle of that in San Francisco. So lots to happen, lots to do, certainly. Tomorrow, we're going to have two semifinals at the World Junior Hockey Championships. The Finns taking on the Swedes at 5:30, and then a rematch, Czechia playing Canada at 9:30. The winners will meet Monday night in the gold medal game. Canada has lost back-to-back tournaments to Czechia in the quarterfinal. They beat Czechia on Boxing Day. And Canada had their best game of the tournament last night against Slovakia, scoring 5 goals in the first period, really putting them out of their misery. And every line produced. Michael Misa had a sighting in this game. You saw something from him. Porter Mertone with a goal and assist. I thought Gavin McKenna was awesome last night. I think he's had a good tournament. I thought it was his best game of the tournament last night, bar none. He was all over the place, making creative, good plays along the boards. He's such a smart passer and sees the ice so well. They give Ivan Kovic a start. He didn't face much. And now, before playing Czechia, do you go back to Carter George, who has kind of been your guy all tournament, or do you stay with Ivan Kovic, who has been awesome with Michigan this year? He's allowed 2 goals in 2 games this season. In this tournament, pardon me. I would lean Ivan Kovic. I think the team will go the other way. I do think Carter George will start tomorrow. But Czechia's a solid team. They, Sikora, the 6th rounder, their captain from Washington, really stands out. You see Galvis, the defenseman, Murka, who was taken 8th overall by the Buffalo Sabres in the 2025 draft, a big 6'5" defenseman who makes smart plays. Before the tournament started, Canada should have been the favorite because they are the most talented team. 6 guys on their team have played NHL games this year. But not to mention you have guys like Tija Ginla, who's taken in the top 10. Caleb Desnoyers, who's playing on a 3rd line, who was taken 4th overall by the Utah Mammoth. Zane Parekh, who with 2 more points will tie a record for most points in a tournament by a Canadian defenseman in World Junior history. He's been unbelievable. So there's a lot to like about this team. I think Czechia, as they always do, will give them a tough fight. Czechia will battle. But ultimately, I think we're going to get Canada-Sweden for the gold medal. They played 2 pre-tournament games against each other. They were close. They were a bit of a battle, some contention. And I think the 2 best teams in the tournament will meet for the gold medal. Because the Finns, they got their upset. They upset the United States yesterday in the best game of the tournament, in my humble opinion. what theater that was. Amazing theater, back and forth. 4 goals in the last 8 minutes of the third period. Incredible production from Cole Hudson, returning from an injury, who is going to be an NHL player by the end of this year. Whenever Boston College is eliminated, he will go to Washington and play. But Petteri Rimponen was amazing for the Finns. Showed up, made some big saves, gets redemption after losing to the U.S. last year in the gold medal game. And the Finns win in overtime, and they get to play Sweden. Their bitter rival, They've had a lot of success against Sweden at the World Juniors. They've won 4 of the last 5 meetings. But I look at Sweden this year with Anton Frundell and Stenberg and Vigor Bjork and Jack Berglund. They got a young team, but they're incredibly talented. They play extremely hard. And I think Sweden will win, and I believe Canada will win, which will set up a very fun gold medal game on Monday night at 9:30. On Tuesday, I'm going to do a podcast, probably 7:30 p.m. We'll react to that game. We'll talk about the ending of the NFL regular season as we get closer to the playoffs. It was awesome to be back today talking with all of you. Thank you for those that have hung out. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn podcast.